Hey, Gator Nation! Welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast, guys. This is the El Nino edition, man. It's cold out there. I hope everybody's staying safe, warm. Got your heaters running, man. Don't spend a lot of time outside. Get those pets inside. As always, guys, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me is CJ the Man McCann
What's up, guys?
and the hype man Wes.
Was good. Gator Nation was good.
Yes, sir, boys and girls. We got some recruiting to talk about. 2024 recruiting, 2025 recruiting to talk about. And we're going to talk a little NIL and how it pertains to the University of Florida and what maybe changes the University of Florida needs to take going forward in the NIL game to get more competitive. It's a hot topic out there right now in the social media world. I know all of you are not out there on social media, but if you are on social media, make sure you go check out our platforms out there. Check us out on Twitter at RespectOurDCN and check out our Facebook group, Respect Our Vision. And if you're part of the Facebook group, you can join our recruiting chat and regular football chat that we have there on the Facebook page. Just join the group and then join into the chat, man. We have great conversations over there. A lot of great guys. Very little back and forth and a negative outlook, taking shots at each other when we don't have different opinions. Grown-up talk, I think, is the best way to say it. So make sure you check that out, guys. Also, make sure you check out not only last week's Pot of the People, but check out this week's episode. It'll be dropping Saturday evening, as always, on our YouTube and wherever you get your podcast from. And if you're watching us now on the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe, drop a like on the video. And, hey, man, leave a comment down below about what you think the University of Florida needs to do to get more NIL funds, man. Who's the cause? What's the cause? What's the solution? Drop some nuggets below on how you would go about fixing this problem. And, yes, I know firing Scott Strickland is very high on your list. I know who you are that's out there listening, and I know your answer. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it, man. Hey, we got a transfer portal quarterback this week. I know that's getting everybody's blood pumping. Clay Millen committed to the Gators this week, formerly of Colorado State. And I know some of y'all are saying, why did we need another quarterback? Well, guys, we only had 2 roster quarterbacks. You had Graham Mertz coming back. You had the freshman, DJ Lagway. Clay Millen, why he's not going to move the needle on excitement. Obviously, he does bring starting experience to the fold in a scholarship third-string quarterback. He didn't play much last year, but in 2022, he was 169 out of 234. So a 72% clip, 1,900 yards, 10 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. So like I said, he's not somebody that's going to move the needle a whole lot right there, but adds experience to the room. In case something happens, maybe you don't want to rush DJ right into the starting spot. If, say, Graham was to get hurt, obviously Graham's coming back from that shoulder injury. Looks pretty good out there lifting weights. That you see him out there. The Gator social media page is putting the Gators are out there working out under our new strength and conditioning guy, and they're out there lifting weights, and Graham looks pretty good doing it. But obviously, when it comes to those collarbone injuries, man, those things can happen again. So you got to have a little backup there. I want to talk real quick about a developing situation as though it pertains to the 2024 class. If you haven't heard already, DeAndre Robinson, defensive tackle out of Orlando, was just released from his letter of interest with Texas. This is a really big deal for Florida because Florida is considered the front runner to land Robinson now that he is kind of back on the block. Gators were neck and neck with Texas when he committed. A lot of people in Gainesville thought he was going to commit to Florida then. So this would be a super addition, man. This is a really big, true, defensive tackle. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. Like I said, he's out of Orlando. He's rated the number 252 prospect overall in the 247 composite. So that would jump us back in the always important bragging rights of recruiting rankings, which, may or may not matter to you out there listening to this podcast. I believe somebody had it figured out the other day that if we were to get Robinson, that would take us up to 12th overall. Looks a lot better on paper than 16th, obviously. Obviously, we're still out there in recruiting Mr. Humes up there from Maryland. If we were to add him, and I'm not saying we are, that would take us all the way up to 9th. So it's got some iron still in the fire. Guys, real quick, what would it mean to you, Wes? I'll start with you because I know you love talking about some defensive tackles, man. What would it mean to you to be able to add Robinson after he already signed to Texas here? That would be a big get, would it not?
Yeah, it'd be a huge get. And I know we are a lot of us, as far as fans, are focused on this current season. And we kind of, I think we were pretty straight as far as D tackles down. But if Napier were to suffice go past this year, I've been constantly harping on the 25 year as far as DJ Ladway's first year starting and Napier really having his own quarterback starting. This is a guy you want there for maybe depth next year or starting next year as well. So this is a guy we wanted, we expected to get when we were talking about these recruits coming in during the season back in maybe like October, September for this kid. So it'll be a huge get. D tackle is something that with offensive line, something that I chronicled that we were kind of struggling with as far as those interior guys that can come in. And I know people look at 250 overall. I want top 100 guys. When you get D tackles like that, you rarely going to get a guy that's going to be in the top 100 unless his name is Jalen Carter or somebody like that. So it'll be a huge get, a huge need. It fills some things that we can hopefully build on for the future with some of the current D line that we got last year and this year. But those tackles are something that we were constantly missing on, guys that we couldn't get into class for whatever reason it was. We chronicled, I can't remember the kid's name that chose UCF last year, that really hurt my heart. Because I really thought that he was going to be special. He probably will still be special. But to
Played
get
great this season for those that follow.
yeah. So get Robinson in here is a good get by, I guess, the staff. I don't know what his reasons were for leaving the University of Texas, but I'm happy to take him in his class.
CJ, what's your take on possibly adding Robinson and maybe a little insight on Millen as well, if you have any other insights?
No, I mean, Robinson would be great for depth purposes. He'd be a good guy to see if you could develop him. And he's obviously got some talent. You're talking about a very important position when you're talking about a defensive tackle spot because it's the unsung hero of the defensive line. It's the guy that really eats up a lot of the tackles in the middle, controls the gaps and such. So it would be a good get for us to get a guy that we could develop him and Michael Burrow, side by side to go forward. Because you're talking about some older guys in the D tackle room now. With Banks and Jackson and now Des Watson. They're getting up there. Cameron Jackson, I think this is it for him one way or the other. This is going to be it. He's out of eligibility. Caleb Banks is getting older. He's only been with us for a year, but, he's 2 years now. And I think it's his fourth year playing college football. And the same thing with Dez. Dez is in his third or fourth year now. So you're talking about some older guys, and you really need to get some defensive tackles in the room to kind of control the gaps and really play that position. And they're hard to find true nose tackles because it's
Always.
not a position. It's not a position that a lot of guys say, "Oh man, I want to play nose tackle." And those guys come at a premium, and a lot of times they go to Georgia or they go to Ohio State or they go places like that because
it's hard to find them in Florida.
Yeah, it's hard to find them. A lot of times, we got Burrow out of Georgia. Georgia produces some pretty good nose tackles. A lot of the big, corn-fed boys or who you're looking for, but it's just hard to get that guy because, like I said, it's not a glamorous position. A lot of the nose tackles when you play nose tackle in high school, a lot of those guys are undersized. They're not going to play college football in the nose tackle position. That's just your body can only do so much. So yeah, I'd like to have him. I want him to some notes. I would like to see how he does in the locker room. I think that there are some concerns there. Nothing to down the kid about. He's 18. It's as simple as getting out and growing up. So that's the hope is you get him there, get him some kind of structure. You get a team around him, really learn, grow up a little bit. Get away from home, kind of become your own man, and I think that'll be good for him.
Anything to add on Millen?
No, Millen's a guy that's played. I think he brings a decent enough. I don't think you're going to look at one point we looked at Jack Miller as a possible like high profile guy because he went to Ohio State. He played on the bench. He didn't really do a lot, but he was a 4-star recruit. He was a guy that that was looked at as possible. Could come in and work his way and actually be a starter at some point. Millen is not that guy. I think Millen understands his role. He's definitely been around for a little while. He's obviously knows some stuff. He'll be a good scout team quarterback. He'll be a good quarterback for the room. He'll be a guy that you can, you're not going to really, really worry about. If you have to put him in a game, it's not going to be. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to be a guy that's going to throw the ball, 80 yards down the field and break tackles and look like Josh Allen, but he's a guy that at least knows what he's doing. He's not a guy that hasn't played. He's not a guy that's coming in like a baby deer trying to walk. He's a he's at least got some reps. That's the main thing is you have a guy that's got some reps.
We said it before. It was going to be really hard to find somebody that was willing to come in and take a scholarship to. I know the selling point is you're going to battle for the backup spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to tell him. And the reality of it is he is going to battle for the backup spot. But he's battling against someone who's immensely more talented than him.
Right.
And let's be honest, you're paying a good bit to get here. So you didn't pay him to come sit on the bench.
Yeah, I think that too, you look at him as a sense of it's really hard to convince a guy to come in and say, okay, well, you got the starter, you've got the heir, and then you've got the spare, and try to get the guy to be the spare is not very, I don't know, enticing. But I think the kid, sometimes you get a very mature kid who understands, hey, look, I'm not going to be an NFL guy. Football's probably going to stop here for me. Might as well go to the SEC and play for a historic program. Get some reps, get the jersey, get the helmet, get the pictures, get the graduation, senior day stuff. And I commend him for that. I mean, I couldn't blame him one bit. If I had an opportunity to say, I may compete for the job at Colorado State, or hey, I can go to Florida and hang out, ride the bench, say I was a Gator. I understand where he's coming from. It's a good university. You get a good degree from here. So hey, all power to him. I'm glad to have him.
One last thing about that too, as well, is the thing that why I wanted somebody that could come in. Not only, I mean, y'all touched on everything as far as depth, and we needed a third quarterback. Is that you want somebody also to push DJ, not to give DJ saying, okay, I'm quarterback too. DJ talked about he's going to push Mertz, but and how you guys know how I felt about Mertz and him coming back and his tutelage and him giving DJ his experience and what's going on and how to prepare and how to be a starter quarterback in college football. But this is also going to be somebody that I'm not saying that he's going to be out DJ or anything like that, but you guys know what I'm saying. But I'm talking to the fans as far as what I'm saying is this is somebody that's going to say, okay, DJ, the number 2 position is not guaranteed to be yours. This is somebody that can come in and actually push him to do and prepare and try to be that number two spot. It's not going to be given to you. It's going to be earned. So I like that part of it as well.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's talk. Look, I understand that right now the fan base, one of their least concerns is 2025 recruits. But hey, the show does go on as far as that goes. You always got to be recruiting because, hey, I know a lot of people consider Billy a dead man walking, and I get those takes. I completely understand that point of view. And I'm not sitting here to tell you shouldn't have that point of view one way or another. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to cover the recruiting aspect, the hot topics that are going on right now in Gator Nation. And I mean, getting 2025 recruits shows the man ain't laying down on the job. He's not accepting his fate. He's accepting the fact that he feels like he's going to be the coach of the Gators, not only next season, but going forward, and he's going to build his team the way he can build his team. So 2 great commitments this week to try. We already had Waltez Clark in the barn, but we got a really great top 100 recruit right off the rip here. Jalen Wiggins. He's a 6'4", 245. He's slotted as an edge right now. He's number 93 overall in the composite, in the early composites. Obviously, we know that's going to just change here, there, and everywhere. But, man, the thing I love about it the most is this kid's out of Tallahassee. You went right into the enemy's backyard and stole a top 100 kid. And they've been on this kid for a while. Mike Pete has been on this kid. He's been recruiting. Now Coach Chapman gets in there, man. He helps out with the efforts. And Wiggins, man, he was at junior day and he felt like, hey, man, it's time to quit, playing around and jump in here. Want to help build something. I love this pickup for the Gators. I think this is a absolutely huge pickup. You've been leading for this kid for a while. This is what closing in recruiting is like. Now, I hear some of you out there, it don't matter till they sign, and you are correct. It does not matter till they sign. But hey, if you can't get them committed, that you can't even worry about that later. So, but that was the actual second commitment coming off the weekend. The first was wide receiver Hosea Abdullah out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's at a Woodward Academy up there close to where I'm from, North Clayton County there, near the airport in Atlanta, near Atlanta Airport. This is a 5'10", 175-pound receiver. He's number 392 in the early composite. Like I said, though, those are numbers, they're going to change a lot. But if you look at this kid's offer list, man, the kid's offer list, just a who's who of college football teams. You had Bama, Auburn, FSU, Michigan, Texas A&M, Tennessee was in there, and a bunch of other ones. So this isn't a kid that's just flying under the radar that the staff took a flyer on. This was a kid that was out there that a lot of teams knew about. And I know CJ knows a little bit more about him. He had looked him up the other day after the kid committed. Woodward Academy is a really good school up there in South Atlanta. That's where Miles Graham was playing for before he moved back down to Florida. So really good school there in South Atlanta. This is a kid, man, that you get now before he really blows up, but was already on a lot of teams' radar. CJ, starting with you, two really good commitments that right there to get this class rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Josiah Abdullah is a kid that I watched. My high school played Woodward in the state championship game. We didn't win, but they were a very good team.
So you're saying you said you did win?
We did win.
Yes.
Won,
okay.
We won big. Yeah, we won big. But Woodward, I think a lot of the reason he's flying under the radar too, because Woodward had a wide receiver named Ben Grice who's committed to Wake Forest, and I don't know how he's slipping to Wake Forest. That kid is incredible. But he got a lot of the burn at Woodward Academy. He was kind of their main guy they were throwing the ball to. That kid could, really catch anything. But the kid is a great kick returner. He's done that this year. He got us, I think he had about 95, almost 100 yards and a touchdown against us. And we're no slouch. I'm not tooting my own horn, but our defense was ranked as high as anybody in the state. We were allowing 14 points or less every game. It wasn't, there wasn't a really, a team that had their way with us. But, to get through there, our secondary, we've got a Reddick, Kendarius Reddick, who's committed to Auburn, playing defensive back for our team as well. So, we've got some guys, and to be able to, get out there and to do that against them shows that he's a really good receiver. He's only going to have a better year. Like I said, with a senior that was in front of you, get a lot of the catches out of the way. His head coach is a Gator at Woodward Academy, which factors into that. He coached with Spurrier back in the day. So, definitely a good get there again. And, then we get back down to my area with Tallahassee, because Tallahassee's 30 minutes from me, I'm almost there. But Wiggins, getting him out of Rickards down there in Tallahassee, he's a heck of a player, solid player. You get him out of the backyard. Tallahassee produces a lot of good kids, a lot of good players. To get somebody out of Florida State's backyard isn't easy, especially when Florida State's winning. You have to compete with them. But the kid seems like he wanted to be a Florida Gator. This is what he wanted. This was his team. The dreaded dream school curse, that we've all talked about. But sometimes it works out. Sometimes kids are just like, man, I want to go play for my team, which is kind of rare today and age. And I understand the hesitation to get really excited about, oh, well, nothing doesn't mean anything until they sign. Typically, I mean, we look at the kids last year that committed this early, Miles Graham, DJ Lagway, those guys. They didn't waver at any point. They stayed committed the whole time. You have a guy like Chauncey Bowens who did leave, and that's going to happen. It's just part of it. But I think too, sometimes kids just get in, they get committed, they go to their senior year, they don't have to worry about getting recruited, they don't have to worry about dealing with any of this other stuff. They know where they're going to be when they get finished, and they like to get stuff out of the way. They're like, hey, look, I got a senior season coming up. My team's really good. We could be making a run at the state title game. The last thing I want to do is be worried about where I'm going to go play college football. I'm going to go ahead and make my decision now, and I'm just going to hang out and get ready and play ball and focus on that, focus on my team, which is a great mindset to have. So you could be looking at a situation like that where kids are just like, hey, I'm not going to stretch this thing out any longer. I know where I want to go. I'm going to make that decision and go ahead and get my name in the hat.
Wes, how do you like these two guys to get this 25 class rolling?
Yeah, you get a top 100 recruit anytime. You got to feel good about that. So, like you said and CJ said, the kid out of Tallahassee. When I first saw Gators with my dream school, I was like, man, this ain't happening. But to see him go and commit also shows, and you got to give Billy some kudos, like you talked about. He's not just sitting on his hands, just worried about the 24 year as far as playing on the field, but he's also going out about his job as like he's going to be here in the future as well. So I love that. I love that the staff is still attacking kids, still preparing, and is they're going to be here, still trying to get the team better. For hopefully, if he's because I'm hopeful that he's here from years to come. That means we're doing well. So I'm all for that. The wide receiver kid. I think CJ spoke about his offers, or you or CJ spoke about his offers. I mean, I know sometimes fans be like, well, this kid is not ranked high. He's a 3-star. He's 5'10". I mean, what are we doing here? But if you look at his offer sheet, that tells you this is Alabama before Nick Saban retired that offered this kid. These are teams that really wanted this kid. And TJ went in depth about the receiver that was in front of him. He comes from Georgia. You gotta love athletes that come out of Georgia. We'll see his senior year. He'll probably get more touches. I hope his quarterback is back. I don't know if CJ didn't mention that, but if his quarterback is back, it was a junior as well, then he's going to get a whole lot of touches from a high school quarterback that's there. So maybe he'll rise up. Now, I would love to see us get some bigger receivers. I feel like a lot of our receivers that we have coming in for DJ has been on like the little smaller side. So unless we get somebody in the portal or whatever, I would like to see some bigger receivers. But if this kid is playing at 5'10" and playing at that speed that a 5'10" kid should be playing at, it's another weapon. We talked about how special teams has been hurting us. I'm big on special teams. I'm like Urban Meyer when it comes to that because when you're a ball game, it lost us a game against Arkansas. So we want special teams to be impacted as well. So when you got guys like that come in as freshmen, we saw Bama with Waddle and Smith and Judy and those guys and Ruggs. Those guys were returning punts and putting their team in position to have short fields. So if he can come in and make an impact on special teams early in his career, we have some guys now that we feel like they can do that as well. But you don't want to ever let up at that position as far because I feel like special teams is just important as offense and defense when it comes to games that you're playing close. So I love that aspect of his game, and hopefully he can rise in the rankings this year when he gets to be the number one receiver. So I love both additions, especially as a shout out to the staff, not quitting on the job, not just worrying about getting guys in the portal and trying to make the team as best they can as far as the future as well. So planning to be in the future gives me good vibes from Napier. What his vision is for this year.
Going back to what you just said about not quitting on the job, man, that goes back to DeAndre Robinson again. I mean, we said that last cycle. We continue to talk about how these guys don't stop recruiting just because a kid commits somewhere else. They just keep on, keep on, keep on. And in situations like that, man, it can bear fruit if you don't burn any bridges and you just part on good terms. Hey, man, we're not going to stop recruiting you. We appreciate you considering us. You'll be hearing from us soon. Don't be surprised when we start texting you again, and then it pays off, man. You end up possibly. I'm not trying to count it before it happens, but it looks really good right now. Jerry Hamilton put in a prediction for us to get him this morning. Jerry Hamilton is an on 3 insider for Texas. So that's a good look for us. All right, guys, that brings us to our main discussion of the evening, man. There's a lot of talk right now out there, especially on Twitter, about the Gators and our NIL situation and where the money's coming from, why we don't have the money, it apparently or seemingly, to do what you see Ole Miss doing, what you see Texas doing, even FSU doing right now. That adding players from big name schools. You see Texas is adding Bama kids, FSU adding Bama kids, even though I'll say most of the kids they added from Bama never saw the field at Bama, but it is what it is. And then you see Ole Miss just adding a who's who of everybody that has entered the portal from all over. You've seen Kentucky obviously do it. You've seen South Carolina be very successful in the portal. And right now, what you're seeing with Florida is us just adding what feels like a lot of filler and possible role players. And it's caused a great deal of frustration, and people are, I kind of understand it from every standpoint, but from more, I do understand it from being a fan, because at the end of the day, that's what I am. People want to know, we're the University of Florida. Why do we not have the kind of money and, just assets to compete with these other programs, especially say someone like Ole Miss? I mean, you can understand it at Texas and schools like that have oil money and things like that. But why are we getting run over by someone like Ole Miss? Well, the first easy answer is Ole Miss has the best collective in the business, currently at over 6,000 active members. And to use that as a comparison, right now, Florida Victorious is operating somewhere right under 2,400. Now, whose fault is that? Is it, is it Florida's fault? Is it Scott Strickland's fault? Is it, sometimes we're being gaslit into believing, it's our fault. Why are y'all not giving enough money? And it's a little bit of everybody, but we're really stuck in this. Is it, was it the chicken or the egg kind of situation about things now? Because the fan base has gotten to the point where the conversation is, well, I'll donate when we start winning. And you have another section that's like, well, we need to put the money in and get the good players, and then we can win. And I kind of want to go around with my guys here and we talk about and get their opinions, because this thing has really gotten kind of out of hand, and there's a lot of uneasiness right now in the fan base. And it's a right, rightfully so. This fan base remembers the good days and how things should be. And right now, obviously, things look very disorganized. You're not seeing the caliber of players across the board that we're used to the University of Florida getting. But at the same point, the landscape has drastically changed, and it might be time for a new strategy. CJ, I'm going to start with you. We were talking about this before the show. What is your take on this current situation, and what should Florida maybe consider doing?
I think you've got to look at this from an unconventional approach. There's going to be a fundraising plan put in place to do this that makes it more enticing for people, or makes it easier for people to donate. I know that Hal on Twitter had brought up, and I thought it was a pretty good idea, was allowing people to donate money at the concession stand at the at the football game themselves.
I think it was like rounding up to the nearest dollar or something like that.
It was something like that. And I think that was a great idea. I mean, if you go to anywhere that's trying to fundraise, if you go to like Firehouse Subs, I know they do this. If you go to Firehouse Subs and if you buy a sub or whatever, they're like, "Would you like to round up your meal to the whole dollar, and we'll donate the rest of that to the firefighters." If there's something that could be done, I think that's a simple way to add cash flow. There's got to be something that Florida Victorious can do to incentivize their patrons, as well as there's something that the University of Florida, I don't know the ins and outs of this stuff right now, but if you're talking from the upper levels of the athletic department, now that they can be involved a little more with the NIL stuff, I think that there needs to be something that can be done as far as like the regular boosters, just the people that are season ticket holders, not the the boosters, but just regular Joes that they buy season tickets. You become a Florida booster at that point. That's part of it. Some of that money for your seats or something could be kicked back to the NIL. I'm not really sure. If they want to prompt that as a donation. Would you like to donate to the Florida Victorious on top of buying your season tickets? I don't know. Something like that, and I'm sure somebody smarter than me has kicked these options around, and I don't know if they're just something to do with ethically they can't do it, or it's just not being the points not being reached or gotten across to the certain people. I'm not sure, but I do know that if we're going to compete, we're going to have to spend a little money, and you can wait for other people to do it for you. You can sit around and you can wait and hope that they change their mind. And that's possible. Eventually, you look at other teams, it's happened. Georgia for a long time was in that mode of, well, and whatever. And finally, at some point, they got tired of getting their teeth kicked in and said, okay, we're going to make a concerted effort to spend and get a football team worthy of putting on the field, and that took a lot of convincing from the right man for the job as well when they hired Kirby Smart. So that's part of it. But eventually that could happen. But I don't know if we're patient enough for that to happen. I'm not want to tell anybody to do what to do with their money. It's your money. You can do whatever, and that includes big boosters. I can't tell boosters what to do with their money. These men obviously have got great wealth doing things their way, and I can't tell them to throw money on something if there's no return on investment. That's the major thing. When you're talking about people that spend money, that invest, that have this big money, what is my return on investment? And you could say, oh, well, we'll have a good football team. Well, what's the guarantee of that? We've seen teams. You can look at Miami. Miami's spending money out their ass, and they still suck. They're getting great players. They got top 5 classes, and they're still bad. So what is the return of investment? You got to have some kind of guarantee. Two, you also look at it from a standpoint of these kids can leave at the drop of a hat. They're not held to these NIL deals. There's no way to do that. So what's the incentive there? It's like, okay, well, I spent all this money on this kid and he left. It's just, I think that we're going to have to see fundamental change with the way NIL works, with the way the portal works, for people to really start to trust to donate their money to this stuff. Because right now it just feels like everybody's playing fast and loose, and hoping to get the cards right. I think another thing with Ole Miss that's not being really talked about, Ole Miss doesn't really recruit out of high school. They've got a lot of kids, not a lot of super high ranked kids. They got some good enough kids in there, but that opens up a whole nother of, okay, well, we didn't spend that much in high school recruiting. Well, now we've got a whole bunch to play with in the portal. So that's a strategy to have. Florida State's done it. Florida State went completely, and they're kind of changing a little bit with what they're doing, but that was the way they did it. Was basically, it's like, hey, forget this high school recruiting stuff. We need to win now. We're going to invest all our money into the portal. and that's a strategy you could have. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to find money from somewhere. And again, I cannot make people give money. I can't make people donate their cash. But I can say this. I donate to it. I have the Florida Victorious. I give money to them. That's my choice. I encourage all of you to do that. Um, and because I feel like it's the best way for us to move forward here. I hope that we find something down the road. I think too. Again, I think we're only going to really see a change at this point if something changes with the rules in the NIL and things like that, where there's caps and restrictions and limitations put on things, to where it's not just the wild, wild west and we're just throwing money around willy nilly. Because I don't think that we have a booster network of guys that are willing to do that. The guys that we do have do a great job. They're working their butt off. The guys that really care about this. But we don't have the resource to really just get out here and spend fu money. I mean, it's not what we're doing. The only thing you can also hope for is maybe you can start to win. If you start to win, maybe it's easier to sell kids and you can get a little bit of a discount. I know Hurst talked about it earlier, especially with a guy like Caleb Downs. Florida could offer Caleb Downs the moon, but if Georgia can match it, then we're just spinning our tires. We've offered a whole bunch of money for nothing, because he wouldn't want to come here, and lose, as opposed to taking that money and going to Georgia and being able to win. So I think that there's just a lot we have to work out. I think that if you do start to win a little bit, I think it could help, and I hope that we're on the track to do that this year.
Wes, what's your take on all this, man? As far as what needs to be done with NIL and what does Florida need to do to build their roster going forward? Uh-oh. Wes is having some technical difficulties. Wes, can you hear us? No, Wes can't hear us. No, CJ, to your point, there's something really got to change, man, as far as Florida has to decide, do we want to play ball? Obviously in the 90s, we played ball. In the early 2000s, mid 2000s, we played ball. But once again, the landscape of college football continues to change. And now we're, obviously Saban's out of the game now, but you've got a new monster. You've got Kirby, and now you've got the NIL monster, and you've got the transfer portal monster. And it's either adapt or die. And right now, we are not adapting at the level that we need to adapt. And to me, it's kind of like a multi-level problem, and there's a lot of responsible parties. I do not, under any circumstances, believe the UAA and Scott Strickland do enough to promote Florida Victorious and any other NIL opportunities to support our athletes in any way, shape, or form. I was flat out told by a member of Florida Victorious and previously of the Gator Collective, I was told by Eddie Rojas the same thing personally, that they were banned from talking about the collective at Gator Club meetings. I mean, what are we doing here if we're not trying to reach our fan base, not just around the university and whatnot, but people come to games and they're like, what's Florida Victorious? I've had many fans and different people tell me the same thing, that people are like, what's Florida Victorious? I've never heard about this. Because, we get on our little social media platforms and we don't understand how small that bubble is in the grand scheme of things. It's just not that big. I mean, we know most of each other, and we don't know everybody in this damn fan base, but we know we know Hirsch on Twitter, and so and Dave Waters and these folks. And we try to use our platforms to talk about NIL and that kind of stuff because we can. Nobody's stopping us. But if you're stopping the primary people that are running the operation from promoting a product that only helps your athletes, what are you doing? I mean, that is a real concern to me. It should be a real concern to the athletes. I mean, and that's going to be maybe the next thing that happens is you're going to have these athletes leave, or while they're even on campus, say, why ain't my AD trying to promote NIL to get me better NIL money? Maybe I need to leave the University of Florida. Trust me, it can happen. um, and if things don't change, it would not surprise me to see that day come. And then, you go on to the next level, like CJ was talking about the big money boosters. I know they have reached out to Hal Steinbrenner multiple times to try, and I'm just using one example because he's the billionaire guy you can reach out to. We don't have a Jimmy Rain at Auburn walking through this door with his $1.2 billion saying, hey guys, what do you need? We got Gary and a few handful of other guys out there trying to carry the torch. And when it's the same 8, 9, 10 guys that are continually having the coaches and the people involved with this, I shouldn't say coaches, but coming back and saying, hey guys, we need a little more. Hey guys, now we want to get this guy. We need a little more. And you're going to the same well, and you're going to the same well, and you're going over and over and over. Eventually that well is going to dry up. Or they're just going to close the doors on it and say, you know what? That's it. I can't do it anymore. You tapped me out. And herein lies a problem, a real problem. And we're going to have to figure it out one way or another, man. What is the solution? And I don't have that answer. I'm a lowly podcaster in South Georgia. I don't have that answer. I can sit here all day till I run out of breath suggesting things that I think are the answer. I've talked to people that I just mentioned about, hey, have we tried this? Have we tried that? And they go, man, we can only get so far. But if they shut us down, they shut us down. What can we do? Hey, we wanted to put an advertisement on the Jumbotron at the swamp. But we can't control the time when they put it up there, how many times they put it up there. They were talking about putting QR codes in every seat at the swamp. That was Wes texting me. He's got an issue.
I've got people that are friends of mine that are boosters that pay, the season tickets, and they're Gator boosters, and they don't, they're not part of this, the Gator social media bubble that you're talking about, where you've got this group of guys on Twitter. There's a group, Hurst is right. It's a group of people on Twitter. Just about everybody in Gator Twitter, and that should tell you that we're not the overarching, end all be all of the fan base. There's a lot of other people out there. You're dealing with people that I know that's, like I said, they don't trust this Florida Victorious. They didn't trust the Gator Collective. They don't trust any of this stuff. I've had people that don't really understand it, and say, hey, I'm paying all this money, for my season tickets, my donations that go to the university. Why isn't any of that money being taken and given to these people, right? And they don't understand the differences because the university and the athletic department fails to really educate anybody outside of this social media that can see what Florida Victorious does. So if you're not part of that, and you're not being told, and I think that's what goes back to, when we talk about blaming a lot of the issues the University of Florida has on the AD of the UAA, it isn't so much of saying, oh, well, they need to pay more money, because they can't. We're not stupid. We understand the UAA isn't the ones funding NIL. That's not what happened. We know, but they could do a better job promoting it as part of what they're allowed to do now. Now it's opened up an entire world of them being able to say, hey, this is the Gator Collective, or hey, this is the Florida Victorious, and they're funding our NIL, and this is our efforts and making sure that current Gator boosters, can, or just Gator fans in general, but I'm talking specifically to the boosters that really don't understand how any of this works. They could at least do a better job promoting it and explaining it, giving them a better idea. Because if you took all those people and they were able to give money to the university and to the NIL collective, it would definitely benefit us, because that's a larger pool of people to draw from. That's a larger pool of people to get NIL from. That's a larger pool of people to make the money off of, to fund this athletics endeavor. I think that would be good for Florida. I think it could only help us. I think.
Hey guys, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a technical issue at the end of the show here, guys. Gonna go ahead and call it a show, guys. Sorry about that. Not a great night here on the technical aspect of things, but we appreciate you all tuning in, guys. All of you that made it this far, thank you so much for tuning in as always. Go Gators.